I'm Alice Brooks, and I am the cinematographer on Wicked for Good.
I have been changed for good.
Hands were the very first thing that John and I first started talking about when we started talking about Wicked. I didn't even have a script, and he said, there's something about touch, two friends, how they embrace each other, how they hold each other. And the hand became the thing that he wanted to become a visual theme. And we do it in the first film, and then we do it 2 times in the second film. We completely did it with intuition. We didn't pull up the still from the first movie. It ended up being almost the exact same framing. It completely pulls at the heartstrings. It is such a simple gesture of friendship.
Just look at me. Not with your eyes, with theirs.
We often say that the first movie is about choice and the second movie is about the consequences of those choices. And very early on in our conversations, it became clear the first hour of the first film is all daylight. It's all day exterior, the first hour. And the last 40 minutes of the first film is this one long sunset that ends as Elphaba leaps off the Emerald City Tower and finds her power and flies into the night. And that really sets the tone for the second movie. And in the second movie, 90% of the movie takes place at night, or in the deep, dark underbelly of Oz, in the shadow of Oz, in the secret places that no one knows exist in Oz. So that gave me all these new ways to tell the story that we didn't in the first. But what people don't also know is that we shot them simultaneously. And I'm not even talking about back to back. The very first musical number we shot was Popular, and the second musical number we shot was Girl in the Bubble. It's just such a huge tonal shift in both films. It was a huge challenge because not only are we talking about a difference in lighting, we're also talking about a huge difference in framing. In the first movie, the women occupy the same 2:3:9 frame, almost split 50-50 the entire time. Whereas in the second film, they're rarely together. And because they're rarely together, we get to establish their 2 vastly different worlds. So we introduce Galinda in an MGM musical style way, where the world revolves around her. She's always in circles or bubbles or mirrors. She's center punched, big, huge crane shots. And Elphaba is different. She's in hiding. And we frame her closer than we framed her ever before. There's a layer to Elphaba that we haven't seen before because we've never gotten this close to her. It's amazing to get to treat them so differently. And then when they are together, like they are in the number for good, we get to start to pull at your heartstrings a little bit by repeating shots that we used in the first film.
So much of me is made of what I learned from you.
We shot on an Alexa 65. 2:3:9 aspect ratio with 1.3 squeeze anamorphic lenses. And they were lenses that I developed with Dan Suzuki over a 2-year period of time while we were in pre-prep. John told me I was going to do Wicked while we were in post on In the Heights. So I had a really long pre-prep period, and it was wonderful to be able to develop the lenses with Dan Suzuki. And we ended up using prototype lenses that no one had ever used before. They literally came from his workshop and overnight shipped to the UK one by one. Each lens showed up at our door, and then we'd add them into our mix. I had hero lenses for each of the women, and the 65mm lens was Elphaba's lens, and the 75mm lens was Galinda's lens. And at the very end of For Good, as a nod to Galinda becoming truly good finally, I shoot Galinda on Elphaba's 65mm lens. No one will ever know that, but I know they can feel it.
And none of it seems to matter anymore.
Throughout Wicked for Good, I use every color of the rainbow to light key sequences. Each color means something, and in For Good, we use the color blue. And the color blue is the color of love between Galinda and Elphaba. The moonlight that we use is the exact same color as the Ozdas Ballroom blue. And then we also use flame, and it's orange flame, and orange is the color of Elphaba's transformation. We first see it in No Good Deed when she starts the fire and the monkeys start flying around and lighting all the torches of Kiamako. She is about to transform into the Wicked Witch of the West. And in For Good, she's about to give up being the Wicked Witch of the West. This is her goodbye. We used real flames, beautiful, huge torches. At the end of the day, we were covered in soot from the flames. You'd see the flame slowly, as the wind blew, you'd see it dance on their faces, and you can feel it in their hair. And it's some of my favorite lighting in the movie. It feels like a Renaissance painting. When shooting such low light with flame light, it's really challenging, especially with Galinda and Elphaba. Galinda is in this very pale purple and blue dress with sequins that are very reflective, and her hair is down and super blonde. And Elphaba has her beautiful micro braids that are so textured, and she's wearing a beautiful jacket that Paul Tazwell carefully crafted. The problem is all of that black can disappear into nothing so easily. And during camera tests, Paul kept bringing different iterations of the jacket for me to test. One of the fabrics he ended up bringing in was this linen that had a sheen to it. And the sheen just made everything so much easier for me because it picked up the little teeny highlights, so you can actually see the flame playing in the reflection of the jacket, even though it's a solid black. It is scary to be in such low light in such a moment that is so powerful and one of the most loved songs of the second act of the musical. But we also loved the idea of it being this quiet, moonlit space and letting the challenges be okay. But there were several times John would come up to me and he'd be like, I just need to make sure you're 100% sure we can see their eyes. And I'm like, I'm 100% sure you can see their eyes. And he's like, okay, they're crying. I'm like, yes, you can see they're crying. And you can see every tear, but it's a very quietly lit scene.
I have been changed for good.
For good, the number is really is just a dialogue scene, and it's simple and restrained. We had decided we were going to end the number on this big crane move. And so at the end of the second day, it was a Friday night, we keep doing this crane move over and over and over again. And John and I go watch playback, and we look at each other and we go, we don't feel anything. You've got Cynthia and Ari pouring their hearts out, but the camera wasn't right. It was the wrong way to tell this moment. We went back and started thinking about the moments that actually were where they connected. And in the first film, we do this 360-degree shot twice. It's in the Ozdas Ballroom, and it's in Defying Gravity. And both those numbers we had already shot. And we decided, okay, let's do it as a 360. But they're at the very front of the set. And so there was no space for us to be able to move around 360 degrees. And not only that, there's nowhere to light it from because we didn't rig our lights for a 360-degree shot. John goes and talks to Ari and Cynthia and says, look, we're going to have to come back on Monday morning and shoot this. And I go and talk to my lighting crew and say, okay, this weekend we need to be in here and light this shot. And I talked to the grips about building a platform, making sure we can do our 360-degree Steadicam shot. It took 8 hours to end up lighting that shot because we had to figure out the pacing we were going around, and we chased the lights to make sure we can move around them and not have camera shadow. And so we do this constant light chase throughout. And in the first film, we only circled them once in Defying Gravity, but in this, we circled twice.
Like a shore as it passes by a wind off the sea.
And then the other thing John says, on Monday morning, I want them to finish for good, and I want to go shoot the split screen between Ariana and Cynthia, between Galinda and Elphaba at the very end. I don't want to do it in 2 separate pieces so that they have a complete goodbye with each other. So Nathan goes, well, if you do that, I have to rip the walls of the set apart. And John goes, this is when this moment's happening, so this is what we're doing. And then we're all like, okay, let's do it. And that incredible collaborative spirit is why I loved making this movie.
I do believe I have been changed for the better.
So this is a scene that in color correction we didn't change drastically. Everything sat in quite beautifully. You know, green is a very hard color to light, but the warm light with the moonlight played perfectly, and there wasn't anything we had to do to adjust anything really in this. I actually did a Q&A last week in London, and a colorist came up to me and he said, I've never seen flame look so good in my entire life. And it's a colorist I like worship. And so I was so thrilled that he noticed the careful care that we took with the flames.